this school. We want the best for your children, and it's my job to deliver that. So I'm looking forward to working with all the families that are here tonight to ensure that that happens.
Thank you, Ms. Lowbridge.
Good evening, everybody. It's nice to see so many of you online this evening. My name's Katie Lowbridge. I am the assistant head teacher for collaboration, and my main responsibilities are on the school Senko and also on the lead DSL.
Thank you. So we've got a range of roles joining you tonight. So hopefully by the end of the evening, we've answered a lot of the questions that you may want answering. I'd like to just start off by saying that you may have noticed that you're muted and your cameras are off. That's nothing to worry about. It's just because other organisations that have run similar events have been hijacked, unfortunately, by trolls, and inappropriate things have happened. So we're just guarding against that to make sure that we have a smooth new parents' evening, students' evening, sorry. We're going to, throughout the evening, answer frequently asked questions that we've received. We've received those both through the email address, Year 6 questions that we've set up, but also I've got questions that we've had from primary schools that I visited. I went to Brookfields today. It was a delight to see some of those students, and I hope we've got them with you've got them with you so we can answer any questions they have. And we've also asked our Year 7s what they would have liked to have known if they could go back in time. So hopefully we'll cover everything, but if we don't, I've got key contacts here on the slide that you'll see. Welcome to JQA. We've got an inquiry there for general inquiries. My email address, and as I say, I'm transition lead. So if there's anything you're still not sure about after this evening, please feel free to email me directly and I'll be sure to get back to you and clarify anything that you need. I've also got Miss Lowbridge's email address there. As she said, she's a safeguard lead and also deals with SEND. So if there's any issues you foresee, please give Miss Lowbridge an email also. We're big on communication here at JQA. We understand that parents are a massive part of holding us to account and helping us develop and improve at all times, and to the student success. So one of the things that will be really useful to do is download our app. A lot of communication goes through the app, including a weekly newsletter where you can see some of the great stories and activities and initiatives that your children will be partaking in. So to download that, if you go to Piota Schools, you can do that with an iPhone or an Android, and then just type in our school. You'll have that up on your phone and you'll get all those notifications. We also try to be busy on Instagram and Twitter. They're the hashtags there and the handles that you can follow us on. And as I say, stay up to date with all the great things that we're doing with your children. Some key dates. New Student Day. I'm sure, like us, you're getting a little bit fed up with having to do everything virtually, but thank God for the technology. So it's allowed us to do this today. But unfortunately, from the government announcement and guidelines, we now can't have students on site, which we're really disappointed about. But we're going to ensure on our website, under transition, we've got a range of videos and activities for your students to do on that day, where they can meet key staff, have tours of the building, and complete activities that they'll expand on their first day.
Can I jump in there, Mr. Tully? Because I just want to share what our plans are. We were really hoping to see all of our students on site on the 7th of July. I was absolutely looking forward to welcoming the new intake, and we'd planned for them to do some really lovely art activities, some fantastic science experiments, some PE team building activities, and to meet their form tutors. And unfortunately, we haven't. The restrictions mean we can't do any of those things, and so we're as disappointed with that as you are, because we know the value and the warmth in terms of what we would have been able to offer on that day would have made students feel a lot more at home. One thing I would probably say to counteract that is, if you haven't signed your child up for summer school yet, definitely do that, because that week will enable those things to happen. And I know Mr. Tully's going to talk about that now.
Thanks, Mr. Parks. So that's exactly right. What summer school will hopefully allow for our future students is that taster that we wanted on that day. It's going to run from the 16th of August to the 20th of August, so that's Monday to Friday. And that summer school will be free of charge, provided by the Core Education Trust. We'll communicate with you a form to complete if you want to secure a place for your child on that summer school, and that will be with you shortly. So again, I find myself saying this a lot, it is dependent on COVID. So if the current restrictions remain, we're going to have places for 75 students. If Mr. Johnson, the Prime Minister, sees his plan through and the restrictions ease, then we'll have capacity for 100 students. So in the first instance, we'll have 75 secured and a reserve list of 25, but hopefully we can have all 100 students on site, meeting their future social groups and their new friends, and of course, key staff in the academy.
We have got 27 places filled already. I can tell parents that from just looking at the forms. So that the demand is there. So if you haven't signed up for summer school yet, please do. I will text the link out now.
Absolutely, it's important you do that. We did it last year. They'll be experiencing bikeability, different sports sessions, art, drama. They're really going to get a flavour of what's to come at JQA. So I hope they can join us on that. So I'm going to go into some of the questions now, which hopefully will answer any burning questions that you've got. This will be shared amongst me, Mr. Barton, and Ms. Lowbridge. And as I said, if we don't touch on some of the issues that you may have or still don't think have been clarified, please email me. So the first question is, how will the school be different through COVID? Mr. Barton, do you want to start us off on that one?
Absolutely. One of my biggest challenges over the course of the last 16 months has been to work with the senior head teacher, Mr. Williams, and the senior team in order to ensure our school is COVID safe. And I think there are people on the line that probably have children already in JQA, and we didn't have to close to any students in autumn until the last week. Our measures were so stringent, so in place, and students adhere to them so well, and that we were able to be safe across the whole site. Since then, we've been really proactive in making sure that students test twice weekly, and we think that may continue into the autumn term. And we're waiting for further guidance about that. One of the things that we've done really successfully is to zone students, and because our students are so wonderful and fantastic, they've stuck to it to the letter, and that's enabled them to be super safe and to keep their families safe as well. So the zoning, the ventilation, in some cases where we have had a case, we've immediately put masks back in, and that's happened recently for year 8. And we if a student hasn't got a mask, we issue them one on the gate. We're not monsters about it. We're really keen to make sure that our students feel as safe and supported as possible. And it's all about making sure that our community remains safe. So I think it is something that we will get to ease up on. But there are key lessons that we've learned from these last 16 months. For example, the equity around social zones. Students have spoken really openly about how they like having different zones on different days of the week because it gives them access to different sports facilities, for example. Students have talked about how they like remaining in one classroom for some of their more written subjects. And recently we've been able to ease off and allow year 10s to be able to travel down to practical spaces for art and drama and music, for example. So we will continue to ensure that those creative subjects have the opportunities to be able to do them in the venues that they should do them in. But we're always going to come back to our concept of never being complacent when it comes to this virus, because we've seen how damaging it can be for this community. And we serve a predominantly BAME community, and we know how much the virus has impacted upon that community, and we're absolutely determined to work in collaboration with families in this community to make sure that everyone is safe, including the people that are the most vulnerable.
Thank you, Mr. Barton. I think another thing that we ensured was that students without access to devices were given anything that they needed, because we continued online lessons pretty much from the start of the pandemic. On that note, there's going to be some communication coming out shortly, which is a device questionnaire, because fingers crossed it doesn't happen, I know there's rumblings and talk about lockdowns in the winter to come if, you know, data and numbers increases. So it'd be really useful for us if you could fill that in terms of what access you have to devices at home. Just in the event that that does happen, we can make sure that learning can continue at home.
Can I add to that a bit of gloss onto that, Mr. Tully? Because I feel like you've undersold your own role and probably the school's role in that sense. At one stage, we had 92% of our year 10s logged into live lessons. We had 93% of our year 7s logged into live lessons during March and February. That came through sheer determination to be able to support this community with devices. I took my car out and drove around to areas of Ladywood and Handsworth dropping off laptops. So did Mr. Tully, so did other members of the pastoral team. And we are absolutely determined to make sure that we do whatever it takes here so that our students can succeed. And I think Sir's undersold himself there. He's undersold the school, but we are absolutely determined to ensure that we give our students every chance and every opportunity.
Thank you, Mr. Barton. Must stop being modest. We'll move on to the next question, which I think is for me. What is the conduct policy and rewards policy like? So we have 3 very simple rules here at Jewellery Courts Academy. It's RRS. I went to Brookfields earlier, as I said, and they're very familiar with this because it's the same for them. And it simply stands for being ready, respectful, and safe. That's all students have got to remember and all we expect from them. Hopefully you received your letters and packs and you got your pencil cases through the post for your children. And that's just a small gift from JQA, from the team. But what they'll also get is on their first day, they'll be given a planner, which is an aid and a tool for their learning. We have a system where students will have their planner with them every day, and each lesson, every time they demonstrate RRS, ready, respectful and safe, they'll receive an RRS stamp from their teacher. A full week of one of those, and they'll get what's called a full stamp merit sticker. Now, the merit stickers that students receive, and we've got lots of them, we've got like ones for 100% attendance, we have ones from heads of year, SLT, head teacher, even CEO, worth a lot of points, those ones. But with those stickers, students can log the code and they'll have points on their own accounts, almost like a mini bank account for them. And those points can be used for, there Mr. Barton's holding up an example of some there. I think they're the head teacher ones that, if there are any students, future students here, they're the ones you want to get hold of. So those points that they log can then be used to buy prizes that we have in our reward shop, and we're ever expanding the reward shop. So just an example of some of the prizes we have: sports equipment, footballs, basketballs, we have speakers, we have earphones, we even have tablets for some of our star prizes that students can buy. As well as that, we have things that are going to aid their education. So we've got stationery and equipment that they can use in their lessons, scientific calculators. We've also got hoodies that they can buy that they can use for PE. So we try and make sure that we try and make sure that there's a prize for every passion or hobby that students may have, and one that can help their learning. Going forward, it's going to be really interesting speaking to the new Year 7s. I'll talk a little bit more about student leadership later, but getting their ideas for how we can improve the reward system. I said to the students at Brookfields earlier, we're currently just planning the reward trip to Rush Trampoline Park, where we're going to take students, where we've got exclusive hire of that. You know, hopefully COVID won't shut that down. But that was for the winning forms, because we run termly form competitions. And it's not just the winning forms that benefit from that, because if they meet certain criteria, we also have non-uniform days that the students really enjoy here and work towards. As well as merits, they'll get postcards, prize postcards that will be sent home to you with nice messages from their teachers, informing you of all the good work that they've done. And they've also got codes and points that they can put into their account. And we've really got a culture here of praising and recognising in public the good work that the students do. Spun, do you want to add anything there?
Yeah, I noticed. I mean, our Year 11s just left, and it was wonderful on Friday, and we kept our Year 11s till Friday. I will say that. Some schools they said goodbye to their Year 11s at half term, and we didn't. We said let's provide our Year 11s with wonderful opportunities and memories and moments that they will cherish for the rest of their life. And one of those was a leavers lunch, where people have celebrated for their academic achievement in subject areas, and it was just heartwarming to see Year 11 cheering and clapping each other for things that were essentially the result of hard work and effort. And I think we're at a place now where the culture of the school is such that it's cool to achieve, and it's cool to do well here. And I said that to the staff on Friday, and I just want to kind of make a point about conduct at this stage. And we might come back to this, but we recently had a mock Ofsted inspection with 2 serving Ofsted inspectors. They spent 3 days at the academy. At the end of it, they wrote me a report that was pretty much like an Ofsted inspection. They said behaviour was good at this school, and it is. I'm happy to walk around the school with visitors and to take them into classrooms, and they will see students that are engaged and thirsty to learn. And I'm really pleased and proud about that, because when I first arrived in June 2019, that was not the case. And wonderful Year 11s have written some really interesting testimonies about what the school used to be like for them in Year 8 and Year 9, and how it's changed in Year 10 and Year 11. And they were full of praise for the actions that we've taken there. So I urge you, if you do want to come and have a tour, I will take you around personally, and maybe Mr. Tully or Mr. Lowbridge might also join us on that. But I would encourage you to get in touch through inquiry, and I will book some time with my PA and take you on a tour personally.
Thank you, Mr. Clark. Really do welcome you in for those tours. We ran a friendship evening earlier in the year. I'm not sure if any of you were there, but some of the parents were unsure about things that they'd read online, which were quite old and archaic, and they've since come into the academy and said, yes, this is the place for their child, and they're now coming here in September. So please come in and have a look for yourself. Right, Ms. Lowbridge, this will be one for you. How do we support students with any additional needs, and how do we ensure students are happy?
Okay, so if I start by the additional needs, first of all, I have been in contact with all of the primary schools. So if your child is currently on the Special Educational Needs Register or has English as an additional language, the SENCO at the primary school will be required to complete some paperwork to send back to me to make sure that we're fully prepared, obviously, for the transition, and we're fully aware of any needs. So your child, if they're automatically on the SEN register in Year 6 currently, they will transfer across into Year 7 onto our register, and we will then monitor them for that first term and see how they settle in. We do run interventions if we feel students need to come out of the classroom to have some more targeted support. However, we do have a heavy focus that the teaching staff should be providing high quality first teaching in the classroom in the first instance, because sometimes taking students out of lessons then creates gaps in learning. So if we do need to do targeted intervention, we will do that. We run a whole range of programs. We do things like Lexia to support with reading comprehension, spelling. We have Flash Academy to support with English as additional language. We run other programs for maths, so things like mathletics. We've also brought into a program called Bedrock, which is excellent for vocabulary development. We do things like speech and language intervention, handwriting support. There's lots, and reading is going to be a big focus as well in September for some of our students, and looking at developing reading skills, and also not just looking at students being able to read and pronounce the words, but also to ensure that they understand what they're reading. So around comprehension. We also work with a number of external agencies. So we work with the educational psychologist. We work with pupil and school support who focus on learning needs. We also work with the communication and autism team, and occupational therapy as well, if needed for kind of any physical disabilities as well. So we can make referrals to those agencies if required. In September, we will be holding a SEN coffee morning, hopefully providing Mr. Johnson lifts his restrictions, where we will invite you in if your child's on the SEN register to obviously see how they've settled in, to discuss their plans with you, and to obviously address any concerns that you may have. and you will be invited internally to review those plans with myself or a member of our SEND team. If you're concerned that and your child's not on the SEN register at the moment, but you feel they may be struggling, there may be some kind of gaps in learning, which could be caused by obviously the lockdown, but you do have concerns, I'm more than happy for you to contact me to inform you of any concerns, and we can perhaps set up a meeting. If your child is on the SEN register, as I have mentioned to primaries, I'm more than happy to do a pre kind of start visit for your child and you, and take you around the building and kind of show you some of the things that we do just to put your child and obviously yourselves at ease. So if you would like to arrange that and your child is on the SEN register, please contact me. My email address is on the screen, as Mr. Tully has already said. In terms of the other side of my role and keeping students happy, we have a wellbeing team which consists of myself, Miss Hanley, my deputy, and also Mr. Francis, who's also a pastoral assistant. We're looking to increase the capacity of that team. So in September, we will be taking on 4 new year group coordinators who will also support with the development of the wellbeing team. We do lots of things. We speak to students, a number of students on a daily basis. It can be just anything from a catch up, or if they're worried about how they've settled into school, they might come and speak to us. If there's any concerns with bullying, they might pop down to speak to us. We deal with a whole range of things. If they're struggling to manage emotions or there's mental health issues, we work with students on that. We work with students around bereavement. And we also plan and regular sessions that are delivered to students during the day on kind of various topics that are covered in the news, just to make sure that they're well informed. So there's lots of support obviously there from our team. Does that answer your question? Is that okay, Mr. Tully, or do you want me to touch on anything else?
I'll add something, Miss Lowbridge.
Okay.
I think for me, personal development here is a real strength. Students, we have a set of core values. Respect is one of them, and students are taught to not just respect each other, but respect themselves. And I think they're guided towards that by some of the wonderful people that we've got in the organisation, Miss Lowbridge included in that. I've got one. I'm going to be really super honest with the parents on the line here. My son has special educational needs. If it's not good enough for him, it's not good enough for your children. That's the rule that I live by. So I want you to be confident that this team are out to provide the best, and Miss Lowbridge and her team will work with the teaching body to ensure that students with special educational needs go on and achieve. And our current year 11s are projected, there's 13 of them that have special educational needs, and they're projected to achieve results that are above the national average. So I'm really pleased with that. And our SEN provision is something that we will continue to develop and enhance over the course of the next 2 years in particular.
Thank you. A question here, I got this one from Brookfields earlier, was how much interaction will we have with older students? What I said to those students that I was speaking to this morning was, it depends. Currently, as Mr. Barton said earlier, we've got certain sections and areas for different year groups because of the COVID rules that we have in place at the moment. But one of the positive interactions they'll have is, and I touched on it earlier as well, is student parliament. So from each year, we will have an elected representative, and they're elected by their peers after they do a presentation or a speech in front of them as to why they should be part of it. And we have 5 from each year group, and in year 11 next year, the current year 10s, we're going to have head boy and girl and their deputies, and also prefects, not just prefects to support the senior leadership team of the students, but also in terms of curriculum. What their role is going to be is to report back to Miss Cross, who oversees the quality of education, and they're going to have to liaise with students from Key Stage 3 as well to get feedback on how we can improve the academy even more. Now, that student parliament is something that we really value. We really listen to them. They're a marvel, actually. The recent interviews we did with the year 10s, in the end, I had to appoint them all, and we had to create positions and that's why we came up with the curriculum prefects, because they were that impressive. Now, real change has happened in the site, in the curriculum, extracurricular experiences, educational experiences. A lot has come from the feedback that we've had from those students. So yeah, there will be interaction. It will be positive. It will be led by us, and there can be real mentors, the older students, to your children that are starting with us in September.
I think, yeah, I would add to that. When I first came to the school in June 2019, students told me that they didn't feel listened to. Immediately we established Parliament. Parliament for me is a vehicle for change, and I'm very ambitious for our students. I want them to be the leaders of tomorrow. I want them to be in positions of leadership where they can make change happen in society. That's our vision for this school. That any student, regardless of background, can go on and achieve the highest heights and make social change happen. That's really important to me and really important for this team. Parliament represents that. It represents that concept of standing up, having a voice, and making change happen. And some of the things that have happened recently, you know, they asked for chilled and fresh water in different stations. That happened. We really listened to the views of these elected members of Parliament. They are the people that drive change forward at this academy. And when they ask us to do things, it gets done. And I think that's where students really see the value in democracy and the value of change, and the value of having a voice and using it in a way that is purposeful. And Parliament for me is that vehicle. So I look forward to seeing your children apply for positions in Parliament, and for what they tell me they want me to do, because they essentially they tell me what they want me to do, and I love that, and my job is to do it.
Absolutely. I'm going to combine the next two questions. So it was, how long are lessons and breaks, and what is the school day like? So if you're listening, you'll have 5 periods. They're an hour in length. We aim to offer a diverse curriculum, so I do their core subjects, maths, English and science. But I saw the faces of the students earlier I was talking to, like when I said you're going to have access to the arts, you're going to have access to music, studios and some of the most up-to-date equipment, health and social care, you know, PE facilities and extracurricular fixtures. We aim to give them as much experience as possible to really ignite that passion that they may have, or any hobbies that they may have that they can then take out of school. Mr. Barton, I know you'll want to add to this in terms of the curriculum.
I do, but I want to start with the school day, because again, this is something that students told us. You know, we currently start at 8:30, and those of you that have got children in the school will know that what normally happens after 8:30 is a late is issued, and students are kind of coached why they're late. We're going to start at 8:35 in September, because it just gives that bit of 5 minutes extra in the morning. Sometimes there's traffic in the city centre, sometimes buses are unreliable, and we know that there's issues sometimes with public transport. So we're going to start at 8:35. Currently, the students have 20 minutes for break and 40 minutes for lunch, and we are going to extend that to 25 minutes and 45 minutes in September. And the reason for that is well, it's quite simple. I feel that, and I share this view with the other heads in the other core schools as well. I feel that what students are telling us is that they want more time together after, because they've missed each other during these times when they've not been able to see each other. We want students to have more access to sport at social times as well, basketball, football, netball, you know, even tennis when we're able to offer that in the new year. And I feel like students' physical well-being depends on our ability to be able to offer some of those things in the school day. Outside of the school day, I mean, Mr. Tully talked about the curriculum there. The curriculum is everything. It's what they do in the school day and outside. So we want to be able to offer extracurricular activities, sports clubs, art, drama, music, choir, all of the things that students would love to do. And you know what, again, another thing that's really important is if we don't offer it yet, we want them to tell us, and we want them to help us to start something. And that's really important. So a real deep and kind of broad curriculum in terms of, yes, your basics in terms of English and maths and the core subjects of science, but PE certainly, and then the arts is something that we're really passionate about here. art is probably the strongest subject in the school. And Max talked there about interactions with our older students. Our older students are producing art at the moment that is probably good enough to go up in some of the local galleries in the Jewellery Quarter, and the art team are actively exploring those opportunities for our students.
Yeah, I'd just like to give a couple of examples there, actually, Mr. Barton, you've reminded me of. So one of the things that came through with the student parliament was the girls said, there's a boxing club, can we have one for girls? Absolutely. We started it straight away. We brought in some expertise, a world champion kickboxer that came in and worked with some of our students. Another example was some of our students were taken to a trial for scholarship in America in terms of football recently. So I'm passionate, but I know the school as a whole is passionate about not just doing some sport or doing a little bit of music or trying it, but how can we make sure that we, like I said, ignite a passion in students, but then they can continue that outside of school and hopefully become experts in whatever they do. Couple more questions. These are some from some of the students that we've had. Do we go on school trips? You heard me mention some earlier. We're building at the moment towards Sports Day and that trip to Rush. And our reward policy is built in that the winning form at each term goes on what I'd prefer to call an experience. Another thing that I'm really passionate about is we know some of the learning students may have missed out on, although I think we've made the case for why our students came back on track and raring to go. But what they did miss out on with things being closed, I think, was different experiences that they normally would have had. They couldn't go to their swimming lessons. They couldn't play football with their friends. You couldn't take them to a museum or a gallery. So building back, as a term that they use, next year we're going to look to give students as many experiences as possible, in a bigger cross section as possible. To make sure we make up for those experiences. So again, just an example, our year 7s, once we came back and we made sure we did all the health and safety on this, continued to go swimming because we're really passionate about those experiences and those skills that they learn through that.
I think as well. Sorry. Go on, Miss Lowbridge.
I was just going to say as well, hopefully in the future we have just appointed a new head of modern foreign languages who's excellent and really keen to take students on trips to enable them to experience what French culture is like by taking them to restaurants, perhaps in Birmingham, French restaurants and things like that. So that's something nice to hopefully look forward to as well in the future.
I was just about to steal your thunder there and say exactly the same thing. Listen, the 8 staff that will join this academy in September, I met a parent on Monday and I was explaining to her how the 8 new teachers that will join are either having firsts in their degree in their own subjects or straight A's at GCSE or have a track record of improving a subject area in a challenging urban school. I'm not going to settle for second best for our children here. I wouldn't accept it for my own. I'm not going to accept it for yours. I think we take advantage of our city centre location, and I'd like to see more of that. And we're a core school. Miss Lowbridge is right. Those opportunities need to be built into our curriculum, and they should be built into our curriculum. I want to see children go to Paris and practice French. I want to see children go to restaurants and order in French. I want to go with them. I speak French, and I'll teach French to maybe some of your children in year 7 as well. I want us to take advantage of every city centre opportunity that we can. So Mr. Tully's right, museums, art galleries, working with the local community to do really exciting events. I want to see more and more of that. And that's my aim and my ambition, is to make this school the centre of this community, so that our students benefit from all of the richness that Birmingham City Centre has to offer. And all of the opportunity that's out there, not just in terms of going on trips and things, but also, working with businesses, doing work experience potentially, having opportunities to be able to see what the world of work is like. I think that's really important as well. And we've made some really strong links within the Jewellery Quarter and within Birmingham City Centre, and we lean on those links, not just locally, but nationally as well.
Fantastic. So I'm going to move on. can tell this question came from a young person. Are there detentions? So the quick answer to that is no. What we do have is coaching and Character 60. Look, we understand that sometimes young people do make mistakes. In fact, we've got it on one of our walls that every mistake is an opportunity to learn and to grow. And we believe that. So if a student doesn't get it right, we have, as I said, what's called a coaching 20 and a Character 60. So that would entail 20 minutes with their form tutor discussing the reasons that coaching was needed, a reflection, and how we can avoid that happening in the future. If it persists, then it may be a Character 60, which is some additional time with the head of year doing the same thing, really reflecting and trying to put in place interventions to make sure that that doesn't happen again. Those are done on the same day. You will be informed by text message if that is happening, and they'll be informed by their class teacher in the 5th period, and they'll go to their form staff and have those really important conversations.
Can I add to that, Mr. Tully? Because I think two things that we're trying to achieve at this school. First one is some amazing GCSE grades, great GCSE grades. And the second one is a depth of character that enables students to be able to operate successfully in a multicultural, vibrant, diverse city. We have three rules that Max outlined before, really respectful, safe. It would be remiss of us to expect that all students knew how to do that. It's a school, we have to teach that. And so some of that extra coaching comes after school sometimes with the pastoral staff. And listen, we're not ever going to be a school where shouting, we're not a shouty school, we're not an angry, the adults in this building, they can't be part of this team if they don't subscribe to this principle of it's about coaching, it's about warmth, it's about love, it's about ensuring that students understand that they might make mistakes, and that's fine because they are kids and kids do make mistakes, and that's how they learn and that's how they grow, but it's our role to coach them through those things. So I would never expect you to experience that, and the culture is such here that students accept that as a norm. I think that they accept the fact that sometimes they are young and they might not know everything, because I wouldn't expect them to. I expect them to live by the rules, absolutely, but there will be occasions when maybe they might make a bad choice or they might make a mistake. Our role is to coach them through that, so that they don't make it when it counts in life sometimes. So I hope that really explains the principle behind it. We're a very, very warm school in that sense.
Yeah. One thing I often say to students when I go into classes is that the one thing that we can't accept is the disruption of learning for them and for other students. So we do take that line that we will call out behaviour that's disruptive when we see it, but there's, like Mr. Barton said, a caring and reflective approach to dealing with that. Uniform policy, and a question that I had from a parent was about a potential blazer. So do you want to take that one, Mr. Barton?
Absolutely. So our intention is to offer a free blazer to all New Year 7 students. I thought long and hard about offering that, and I know that I've taken some calls from some parents recently, and I've got back to those parents and said, this is the time frame for when we're going to do it. My rationale for giving it on the first day in September is your child may shoot up over the summer holidays and outgrow their blazer quite quickly by the time it's been issued. So what we want to do is size people up in the first day, in the first couple of days, and ensure that we issue that free blazer then. It would be silly of us to issue a blazer now only for your child to have a growth spurt over the summer holidays, and then it's no good to you and you have to buy a new one. So I'm a parent. I know that that's something that I wouldn't want to do. So, but again, if it's not good enough for me or my kids, it's not good enough for you. So we've made that decision consciously. So we aim to issue the new blazer, and it's a new logo. It's a logo that it features on our website. I can say that you probably found in your pack something that looks like this, which is the 15% off uniform at the True Tech shop in Erdington on the High Street. That is one thing that we can offer, and Clive Mark is the other supplier. The uniform policy is very clear on the website. It is non-gender specific from September as well. That's very important. We're very tolerant and welcoming as a school. So you will see a uniform policy that goes online very shortly that reflects that. There are 10 key points of note. Details do matter to us. Like I said before, we're not monsters. It's very warm. If you are struggling, give us a call and we can support. We have lots of spare, very unused uniform that's clean. We have brand new pairs of shoes that we can offer, and we do offer students those shoes, and we support them with that. When shoes have become ripped or damaged and it's a bit away from payday, we do that. We're not the kind of harsh line on that, but details do matter to us. One thing that I would say is if you're selecting school shoes for your child, my rule, and you'll see this in the uniform policy, is if there's any doubt that it's a shoe, it's not a shoe. Okay, so black polishable shoes is the choice. We don't allow Air Forces or anything like that. If it's a sports logo, that's not a shoe. So live by the rule. If you're in doubt, it's not a shoe, and you'll be fine. But I think I hope you've got that discount voucher for TrueText, and I can't wait to see our students smart in their new blazers. It's blue shirts, of course, which look. Anytime I take children anywhere with our uniform on, the comment that's always said is how smart they look, and it's the gold tie. This is Jewellery Quarter Academy, gold tie, gold stripe tie.
Yeah, so blue shirt and grey trousers, as Mr. Barton said, and black shoes. They can be bought from Asda at a very reasonable price. They'll be given.
Can I just make a point? Sorry, Mr. Tully, about headscarves, because I know that the Parliament, recently, some members of Parliament, student Parliament, have asked me about will the headscarf rule change slightly. So yeah, it will. If you're a student of the Islamic faith and you wear a headscarf, we are going to. Previously, it used to be black or blue, but some of the students have said, well, in the summer when it's super hot, can we wear white? Of course. So we are going to look at that. So we're going to add white and grey to the headscarves. So it's going to be black, blue, white, or grey. So that's hot off the press. And that, again, it shows you how much we listen to our students.
Absolutely, student Parliament again. So blue shirt, grey trousers and shoes. I'll call it assertive support. So if students come in and they've forgotten their tie, they're not going to be shouted at or chastised. We've got the uniform shop there. We'll make sure they look their very best and they're smart. And then we'll work with them and families to make sure that that's rectified. A question about bullying policy, or the bullying policy. So I oversee this myself, so I can talk about this. All incidents of bullying are recorded on a platform we use called CPOMs. And they come to me, and I ensure that actions are put on and are in place for any incidents of bullying. Now, the actions vary depending on the severity of any bullying that we see. But one thing that we do ensure is that the support for the victim of the bullying, but also the support and any education that's needed for the perpetrator of that bullying as well. Unfortunately, it does happen in all schools, but being the small, in comparison to some other small warm school that we are, we often are told about this from other students who will come and make it clear that there's something going on that's not respectful that we need to deal with. And as I say, there's a clear system in place for us to deal with that. Miss Lowbridge mentioned earlier about our expanding pastoral capacity next year, which is really going to help us support anybody involved in bullying or any issues whatsoever. Miss Lowbridge, do you want to add anything else?
My team, obviously, after Mr. Tully has actioned the bullying, we do provide additional support emotionally if anyone still feels they're struggling or wants to talk further about obviously any bullying incident. We also, as we've discussed earlier in this session, have a look at kind of the data that is recorded onto CPOMs, and if there was kind of an increase in bullying, say for example relating to name calling. We have had an incident recently with body shaming and people making comments about weight. We do then plan sessions to educate students around that and be proactive and signpost them to different support in obviously our personal development sessions on a Friday or in the PSHE lessons. So we do use our data as well to inform our PSHE curriculum.
I'll add a final point for this question. I think it's a great question. Again, something that as a parent of someone that's about to go into secondary school, I'd be asking myself. What did the inspectors tell me when they arrived in May? They told me that students told them that it doesn't happen often, and when it does happen, it's dealt with very swiftly. I was pleased with that, and I'd be pleased with that as a parent as well. I think the work that the team do, the pastoral team do to support, but also for sanction as well, I think is important. I think the other aspect of it is when there are student surveys, and we do one every term, the students corroborate what those inspectors say. So the students would say that where it does happen, if it does happen, and it can sometimes happen, it's dealt with really well. And so we do have people on hand. And you know, we're a very tolerant school. We welcome students from all over the world, of all faiths, backgrounds, and cultures. It's a really harmonious group, and I'm really proud of that. We do Refugee Week. We have LGBTQ plus events as well that students have led on. So it's just a really harmonious and tolerant place. And if we find that that's not the case, it's dealt with quite swiftly.
So we've gone through quite a lot of questions there and covered quite a lot of the school. That's all the questions that I had that had been sent in and formulated from students. So I'm sure Mr. Barton will want to have a final word in a second, but I'm going to say please visit. We've recorded this session. If you joined us late, you missed any questions that you don't think have been answered, and we'll make sure this goes on the website under transition. Please, on New Student Day on the 7th of July, access the website and transition and make sure that your students are watching the videos and completing the activities that we provide for them. Please be in touch with me or Miss Lowbridge if you've got any issues or concerns before your student starts. Please make use of the summer school that's going to start in August. And I thank you for all joining us, and we've had a really good turnout today, which is positive. And we look forward to you helping us shape the school going forward.
Thank you, Mr. Tully. What I'd say is that if you do have any questions, you can either use the inquiry email address. I monitor the inquiry email address, which you'll be pleased to know on this iPad next to me. So that's done at 7 o'clock in the morning, and I pick those up and distribute them. So communication is really important. If you have any questions about anything, or you feel like you want to visit, or there's something that we haven't covered, get in touch. Use inquiry. Email Mr. Tully, and his address is there. Look, I think that the last thing I want to say is I just want to thank you for trusting us, because I feel like JQA is the reputation is continuing to grow from strength to strength. We have 113 families that are trusting us with their child, and 30 of them already have children at the academy, and you know they've liked what they've seen already, and have said we're happy for another one of our children to attend this school. That makes me really proud. That 113 is more than we had this time last year. It's more than we had the year before. This tells me that the community are becoming increasingly confident by what we're attempting to do here, and we're not attempting to do anything that isn't kind of built out of love and care. It's about having the highest ambitions for this community and for our children. I spoke to you earlier and said that there's 8 new staff starting in September, and those staff have all had to pass quite rigorous tests, and the biggest test is, would I want my own child to be taught by that member of staff? And if I can answer yes to that, it's good, and it's good enough for my 3, and it's good enough for my 603 that are out there in the school building. So that is the biggest promise that I can make for you, is that we will live by that rule. And we won't always be perfect. We won't always get it right, and we're far from perfect, and we want you to help us to continue to get better all the time, but to get better for the right reason, and the right reason being that we want to provide the absolute best for your child and for the communities that we serve. So I want to thank you all for coming. please do get in touch if you want to visit and you want to spend some time in the office. Nothing is too much trouble here. And I will say that, you'll be made to feel very welcome. You'll be made to feel super safe in terms of going around the academy at safe distance. But I look forward to seeing your children in September. It's just a shame we can't see them in July. And I look forward to meeting all of you at some of our upcoming events. And I'm really excited about summer school. I'm going to be there at summer school. So if you are, if you haven't signed up yet, please do. Thanks everyone for coming.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Take care. Take care.